What up there, people? I am back. Sorry I haven't done a video in a couple days. I meant to do this Monday. I couldn't because I had to wake up really early Tuesday morning. And then I meant to do this video yesterday, but then because I had to wake up kind of early this morning too, I just couldn't. So I figured we're just going to do this today. Tomorrow I'm going to do another Jean Claude Van Damme classic where he kind of basically plays twins in the movie called Double Impact. I don't know if a lot of people have seen it. It's a fun fucking movie. So I'm gonna do that one tomorrow. Friday, since that new Wolfman movie's coming out, and I think I am gonna watch it. Not in theaters, but I am gonna watch it just because I do love werewolves, and I almost feel like I do gotta see almost like every werewolf movie. It's probably gonna be shit, just because I'm gonna be honest. I have low expectations when it comes to Bloomhouse these days. Maybe I think I have made this video, but I might like just do another one where like an updated one where I'm just gonna say it like Bloomhouse is dead as like a company to me in the sense of like creatively. They just don't seem to give a fuck. It's just straight up we just want to make money, make the cheapest movies possible so we can make money. And it's weird because it's like idea I don't inherently hate, but he just put some good ideas. Anyway, you know what? I know I said I might review Double Impact tomorrow. If since I don't think I'm working tomorrow, if I don't have to work tomorrow, maybe during the day I might do this rant video about Bloomhouse. I might do this like during the day sometime tomorrow, and then we'll do in the evening Double Impact. So I might be potentially two videos tomorrow to make up also since I didn't do a video on Monday or Tuesday. So do those two, and then Friday Wolfman, the original Wolfman, and then I'm thinking Monday we'll be doing The Howling, and then maybe the 2010 Wolfman movie. I would love to do Dog Soldiers, but I've already done that. I did that like a while ago. Maybe like just not a review, but like maybe a discussion why, like maybe why Dog Soldiers is the best werewolf film. Because to me, it is my favorite. If you had to ask me my werewolf film like ranking, I know there's a bunch of them, but if I had to say my favorite werewolf film, it is Dog Soldiers. That plot is just so good. So maybe that'll be a video next week too, sometime. And then yeah, so Lionheart. This is a Jean Claude Van Damme movie that came out in 1990. Basically, the premise is he plays a French soldier stationed in Africa where his brother ends up getting killed. And he has to go to the underground, basically fighting to raise money for his murdered brother's family, and that's essentially the plot. That's literally it. It is the quintessential kind of 90s early action movies. I love these movies. You know, this kickboxer blood sport. You got to remember this was that time of like there were so many Kumite-esque underground fighting movies. Like there was a bunch of them, even like a bunch of underground ones. Like when I mean underground, like low budget ones, and not big name movies. These were just everywhere in like the early '90s, especially after like Bloodsport and Kickboxer, and you got like the last Kumite, which is a more recent one, but yeah, this movie is just fun. The fight scenes are fun. You got fun characters. His friend, his friend Joshua, who he's a black dude in the movie. Who he's almost like his Adrian. I'm the reason I bring up Adrian, not Adrian. I meant to say Paulie. Um, where he's like his big supporter, and it is a fun film because he fights for people, and it is formula obviously a little bit after Rocky in the sense of the way he starts underground, and then eventually by the end of the film he fights the big martial arts champion. Yeah, he gets his ass kicked obviously towards the end, and then he comes back, in the end of the fight. Is The fights are actually very well done. The one fight, there was one where he did one in a pool, and or like a pool and a little bit of water. That was actually creative. Granted, the outfits they were a little out there, but it's very much still Jean Claude Van Damme's great, man. And maybe we'll start getting into more Van Damme movies. This one, there's Hard Target. That's another one I want to do. Um, there's like a lot. Like, he was bad guy in Expendables, but Jean Claude Van Damme is, I think, one of the more, I guess you want to say, underrated action stars. And the crazy thing is, he was gonna be the original Predator in the suit. Yeah, he was gonna be, before obviously he left. He was the Predator in the suit, in the original suit. It was gonna be Jean Claude Van Damme, which is fucking crazy. So yeah, Lionheart, great film. I recommend it. It's just a dumb, fun kind of action film. Like, it's not a lot to it. If you like underground fighting, those kind of movies, I think this one delivers. The choreography is great. Jean Claude Van Damme gets to show off his skills. Yeah, the only, I guess, weak part of the movie for me really is the wife of the brother, who eventually, obviously, she falls in love with him towards the end. And her kid, I'm sorry. I know it seems like sometimes I pick on kid actors, but fuck, there are just some bad ones, man. It's like, does the studio not, or does somebody not watch this and be like, you know what, let's get this kid out of here? And this is a case where I feel like that it applies, because holy shit. The main kid in this movie, I am sorry. And it was like you're supposed to buy his connection with um Van Damme's character, Lionheart, that's his nickname, is Leon is his name. But I just, basically it's just Jean Claude Van Damme, let's be real. His connection with the kid, and I get it, it was supposed to mimic like his brother's connection because that's his brother's son, but it's just, for me, it doesn't hit. And also just because the kid's not a good actor. I think that's the problem. Like, it just wasn't selling me. Especially in the end when he has to say his goodbye. I'm just like, okay, can this movie like just leave so we don't see this kid on screen anymore? But that's like, he's like my only real criticism in terms of like acting. Brian Thompson's in it. And actually, surprisingly, he's not like a bad. I guess he's kind of a bad guy, but he's not like, it's not like he dies. Surprisingly, like, I think. Well, to be fair, there's no real death. This isn't like that kind of movie. He's not. He's a soldier, but it's not like they're using guns and he's storming a building and stuff like that. It's a straight up underground fighting. So, but it's a good movie. So, if I were to rate it out of 10, objectively, it's probably like a 7 out of 10. But I'm gonna probably give it like an 8 out of 10 just for being entertaining. And Jean Claude Van Damme, just every time his martial art, he puts work into his stunt work in martial arts, man. You could see it on screen. Like, you could tell it's almost like to a science, especially back in 1990. So, yeah. So, but anyway, like I mentioned, tomorrow I will be doing, potentially 2 videos. I do want to do a rant about Bloomhouse again. I guess it'll be like a part 2 of that video, or 3, or whatever, which one I've done. Because Bloomhouse, man, they have fucked up a lot, and especially if you compare, especially last year in 2024, the amount of fuck ups they have done. So yeah, I need to go in on that. And then in the evening, I'll be reviewing another Jean Claude Van Damme classic. I was gonna probably originally do this like next week, but because I missed a few days, I just figured, why not? We'll just review um Double Impact, which it's a crazy premise where he basically is playing 2 characters, but it's still fun. I think they're like each have like a different personas, but essentially, yeah. um Subscribe to Pin Down Podcast. Link will be in the description. And I'm gonna start putting our Spotify link, because we have a Spotify now. So I will be putting the link to that also in the description because at Pin Down we're doing much more. We're streaming more consistently now, so subscribe there. We'll be back live on Friday for our post SmackDown review. Other than that, guys, let's get into Lionheart. And to be fair, buddy, Chris Jericho used to be called the Lionheart back in the day. That was his old nickname in wrestling. I think in WCW. So Leon um, is stationed in Africa. So his brother ended up getting killed in a drug deal gone bad. So her sister in law wants him to come see his dying brother. And yeah, there's a scene where he doesn't escape and you get kind of like an open action scene. You know, that's the one thing I do love about these old 90s and just kind of old 80s too. You can kind of throw the 80s in there too. How some of these movies always start, you always got to show them doing their moves and fucking up some people, which is nothing wrong with. That's a good formula. It's also a good way to get the movie started too. You know, you want to hook people. Show Jean Claude Van Damme doing some kicks. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I was looking for something. But yeah, show Jean Claude Van Damme doing some kicks. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I thought it was a cool little opening. Him escaping the boat, taking out some guys. You know, Van Damme doing his thing. Like, and what I mean is he does kind of have it down to a science in the sense of the amount of work he puts into and how fluid the moves are and stuff. It's crazy. And obviously, like, of the action stars, he's probably not like obviously my favorite, but I do like Jean Claude Van Damme, and you can tell the work he puts into it. And yet, obviously, I don't think he's the best actor because sometimes his accent can get in the way. But I mean, he doesn't need to be. It's like Arnold to me. Like, just do your kicks, and if you can just say the lines relatively well and deliver them well, I don't need. It doesn't need to be the best acting in the world. So he gets to New York. Um, and this is where we meet Joshua, who basically kind of becomes like his, I guess, manager, if you want to call it. He gets attracted to this underground fighting ring. He participates in one, wins, and starts getting into the life, especially because he needs to make money for his brother's family. And then, yeah, they get attacked by some street punks. That's what I mean. I will say, too, about this movie, and like old action movies, they were paced well in the sense like the action just comes, but it's also not too fast. Because there's some action movies, especially once we get into like the 2000s a bit, where I think there's too much action at times where it's like, okay, you're just doing much because you just want to fill the screen. That's one thing about like the older action films, at least at that point. I think action films have been gotten better for sure, but there was that little lull period in like the 2000s, or I guess later 2000s, I would say, where I felt like they started getting too much action and almost like you're just doing action just to do for the sake of doing action, which there's a way to do it because obviously even 80s and 90s there was times they were guilty of it, but it was almost like you could ignore it and it wasn't like a criticism where it'd just be like now it at that time anyway. So I like how like this film's paced. Yeah, you do get a lot of action, but you do still get a little bit of story here and there. But anyway, um, he helps Celine and Nicole and Cynthia, who's like one of the heads of obviously these fighting underground fighting rinks. He decides to join her, and he decides to raise the money so he can give to Nicole, who's she's basically the love interest, essentially. But yeah, she's fine. Like she's okay in the movie. like you see she's being followed by some people, and because she has to deal with the leftovers of her brother, and and then yeah, through the film he starts defeating a bunch of fighters, and this is where I mean where it gets kind of it's formulated like Rocky, where he goes, well, not just the first Rocky, like kind of the Rockies in general, where he goes through the fights, and then he get to the big one where his final fights against Attila, who's undefeated. Um, and Attila, is this big dude, and that final fight in the end is pretty hard hitting because, you know, he gets his ass kicked in the end, a lot of that fight, and then he comes back and then eventually wins. But the fight in the pool is kind of fun. It was just like the creative setting, like doing a fight in a pool, and yeah, like Jean Claude Van Damme really delivers as an actor, man, in these kind of movies. Like, he doesn't need to do too much. He doesn't. I think it's the physical work he puts in. It's like Jackie Chan in that sense, where the kicks. I mean, I don't know if I'm not saying every movie he probably does his own stunts, but I think there's some he does. And wondering if one of these, but at least with the kicks, you could tell that's him. Because there's a way he does the kicks that he that's him. So yeah. So they basically Cynthia's starting to grow mad because he's winning. I think she's trying to fuck him over, obviously behind the scenes because he's winning too much. So this is where Nicole introduces her son because she realizes it's up. Because I think she sees him getting hurt, and yeah, because he comes over and he's like all a little bit bloodied, and yeah, he tells her the truth about being a fighter, and he's the one who's been giving her money, and this is where we meet. So, um, okay. I was fucking wrong. I'm fucking mean. I was calling Helene's daughter's son the entire time. Apparently, that's a daughter. Fuck. I just did put two together when I was watching it. But yeah, her daughter, and still, bad actress, bad kid actor, does not matter. That point doesn't change. And yeah, there's scenes where they're connecting, and it's fine, I guess. Um, and so, um, then this is where Cynthia arranges for the final fight, with Leon to take on Attila, and basically, and the Legionnaires they're the people who've been kind of following, um, because they want to take him basically back to the military. So, they want him back basically, and obviously he left illegally. He technically wasn't supposed to leave. So, and then yeah, they even try to have Joshua basically bribe Joshua into bet, um and then Joshua tries to talk him out of the fight, and he doesn't agree to it, and this is where we get the final fight. And yeah, this fight is great, man. Very much like, I like that formula of like, yeah, he gets it, where the fighter gets their ass kicked and they come back, and if it makes sense, if it's done well. There's times where it's cringe and you're trying too hard to be Rocky, and I thought it worked here because you feel bad for Leon. Leon, throughout the film, you saw he is capable, It's just this guy took it to him in that like first bit of the fight. Obviously he came back towards the end, but you know, he got fucked up for that first bit of the fight. And the guy they got though worked. Like he looked like you like you wouldn't want to mess with that guy. Eventually, Leon manages to come back and get his win back. He takes out the guy, but it's almost like he refuses to kill him. Um, and Cynthia has now a big debt, and the Legionnaires take her away. They basically let him go in the end. Whatever. I mean, not whatever, but like they let him go in the end, and that's pretty much the end. Like, and I guess he stays with Helene's family, and that's kind of it. The movie is fun, man. I very much, if you like '90s kind of kumite underground fighting kind of films, that's this one delivers. It's only an hour and a half. You get to see Jean Claude Van Damme kick some people. The fights are very well done. It holds up. It's most of the characters are fine. Like Helene's fine. The daughter is not a great kid actress, but she's not in the movie a lot, so it's whatever. It's more everything else. Even Brian Thompson, who I think is an underrated actor, is kind of cool to see him in other stuff. So overall, I give it an 8 out of 10, but objective is probably like a 7. But I love it. If you love these kind of films, and Jean Claude Van Damme, man, I love his martial arts and the way he does utilize kicks and in his film. So I can't wait to talk about Double Impact tomorrow. So, but anyways, guys, I'm gonna get ready to call it here. Um, un, um, Tomorrow will be uh Double Impact. Very much a interesting one where he basically, like I said, he plays twins, and people want to come after them, and they have to basically survive. It is a interesting premise. Very '90s, but it works. And I get it. I'm gonna say it. This is one of the few times where Jean Claude kind of plays a character. He does play twins, but they do have different featuristics. So he's almost playing different versions of himself. It's not like he's playing their twins, but they're basically the same. It's like no, they do have different. I think they each live different lives. So at least a bit of like he has to do different type of characters. So that's gonna be fun to watch again. I haven't watched it in a while. So, but anyway, um, that's about it. Subscribe to Pinned Out Podcast, and we are on Spotify. If you have one, follow us there. I'll put the links in the description. But other than that, guys, it's been fun. Lionheart's great. Talk to y'all later. Peace.